Welcome to another Loven Stamps tutorial. I have a great project to share with you. Upcycling is all the rage with craft projects. So we are going to go ahead and do an upcycled project frame that would look great on a table or on an entryway space or on a bookshelf, all kinds of fun places. And it uses your Blendabilities markers and the Choose Happiness stamp set in a variety of different ways. So I love this project for a lot of reasons. One, it comes out looking great. Two, it gives you a lot of different kind of technique ideas that you could apply to cards or scrapbook pages. And three, it comes all pre-packaged for you as part of the Stamps the Mail Club kit. So really could hardly be any easier. Let me show you some tips for making this great project. So if you aren't aware of the term upcycling, let me help you out with that. Upcycling is kind of like recycling or taking found items that you have and turning them into something new, sort of making something fun and new out of them. So for Stamps the Mail Club, I have very specific directions on making all these pieces, but let me give you some tips and tutorials. So first of all, to make the frame here on our upcycled frame, I'm starting off with a piece of chipboard, and this is cut from the back of glimmer paper. If you get the Stampin' Up glimmer papers, you'll see that. And then I have a piece of tagboard, which is cut from the back of designer series paper pieces. So we're going to go ahead and use my Simply Scored tool, and I'm going to set up one corner of my cardstock piece here on a line, and then I'm going to go ahead and point the other end down to kind of where I think is the same line. So that one is not. We'll turn it just a little bit. Let's see, I think that looks about straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and score it. I'll go back a little. From corner to corner. Okay, you kind of see, maybe you can't see, there you go, how that works. And I'm going to fold it, and this is going to give us the basis for our frame. And so now I'm going to grab my multi-purpose liquid adhesive, aka green lid glue, and go ahead and pick. It doesn't matter which triangle you put it on, just pick a triangle to stick it on. Sticky strip would also be a good adhesive for this, but I like the quick factor on the green lid glue. And then I'm going to center this right in the center here of my frame piece, left to right. See how that works? Now green lid glue doesn't grab instantaneously, so you're gonna have to give it a second to, see, now it grabbed. Give it a second to grab, and then you have your frame ready to go. See how that works? So you could do this for any size frame. This one happens to be 6 inches tall, so this piece is 3 inches. Actually it's 2.5 inches by 3 inches. But you could do 3 by 3 for your frame, all kinds of possibilities. This one just happens to work really nicely for a 6 by 6 frame. Okay, for my back piece here, I'm going to go ahead and green lid glue the back. You'll notice that it looks like I'm using a ton of glue, but honestly, those glue beads are really small. You don't want to glob on the liquid adhesive. It's really strong stuff. But one of the advantages on using it right here is that you can shift your black paper around just for a second to make sure you have it straight on all the sides, and then you're ready to go. Okay, so this is going to be our background frame. And then for Stamps the Mail Club, all the pieces are cut and ready to go. So you just have to pull out your packet and start stamping and assembling. All right, so my Choose Happiness stamp set. All right, so I'm going to grab the little Choose Happiness words. So for our first block here, this is really simple stamping. I'm going to grab this, grab my black Memento ink pad, because you'll definitely want to use the black Memento ink. Now, it's a little tricky to try and stamp on there and get it straight. So my recommendation in this case is to go ahead and flip your paper over, put your inked stamp up, and go ahead, and then you'll want to use something that's got an even surface, like another clear block would be awesome, to go ahead and press that down. So it's like you're bringing the tail the other way. And look, there's our nicely stamped Choose Happiness greeting. Now I'm going to go ahead, you can do this or not, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp it one more time here on our square. And I got it crooked, so I'll flip it over and stamp one more time. You can choose to do this, or you can mount your piece here directly onto a plain square. But it peeks out just a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp it on the background too. And then I have my Cherry Cobbler Blendabilities markers. And these guys are fabulous. Ah, they didn't get closed last time. Make sure you close them. They're alcohol markers, so they kind of like a stays-on pad. They have a tendency to want to dry if you don't care for them properly, like closing them all the way. So now I'm going to go ahead and take my lightest color and just do some sort of quick on the widest parts of this little flourish piece here. I'm going to add some color. Okay. So after you've added your color, then you can go ahead and, there, that looks good. Mount this. Make sure when you close your blendability, see how there's a circle in there? If you get your tip off to the side and jam your marker in there, your tips can break. So make sure I even like to just lay them flat on the counter and close it like this so that I know that they are right in that hole and my tips will be in good shape. I am going to take a Stampin' Dimensional, also known as a poppy-uppy thing, and stick this down, and this will be our first square. All right, and see how you can kind of see the edges, whoa, peeking out there. So I'm going to set that aside here on our frame, and I'm not going to touch anything until we are getting ready to go, because that would be difficult. All right, I have a piece of the crochet trim in here. I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece off, and then I have a couple of like map pieces here. I think I'm going to take this one. And my recommendation on this is to go ahead and put your adhesive on the back side. This trim is so lightweight and thin that it's difficult to adhere on the front because you don't want your adhesive to show or to feel through. So I have my crochet trim on there, and then also included in your kit was one of these little hearts. This is where the edge pieces from your Stampin' Dimensionals come in handy. So I'm just going to trim that with scissors and grab a little piece that fits nicely on the back. Okay, not quite so nicely. I'll trim that off. And then go ahead and stick this baby down here on my piece, and that's going to help to adhere the crochet trim also. All right, so there's number 2. Number 3, you are going to go ahead and stamp your flower, okay, on your piece here, and then you can go ahead and use your Blendabilities markers to color it. So I'm going to go over the whole thing here with the lightest color marker because that gives us our base, and then I'm going to go ahead and color some highlights. Okay, and when you do your highlights, I like to work darkest to, or lightest to darkest. So when you do your highlights, what I like to do is use the shadow lines that Stampin' Up gave you, because the fabulous stamp artists who drew these said, oh, here's where a shadow should be. We'll make it dark. So all I have to do is copy over those with my medium marker, and that gives me a great starting point for doing some shading. All right, then I have my third marker, and I'm going to use, I like to use the little sort of bullet tip for this, and I'm just going to do a few places right over where the black shade lines are. Okay, and there we have our finished piece. Now if you want to, at the very end, sometimes I like to go back with my lightest marker and shade just a little bit along the edge of where to kind of blend in some of the color. Does that make sense? So that you don't have quite as stark a line change between the lightest and the darkest. All right? Okay. There is our next flower, and then I'm going to go ahead and take that with a Stampin' Dimensional, pop it on there, stick it onto our square, and set that aside. All right, so let me kind of give you the quick here on the next ones. This one you're just going to go ahead and stamp with your branch stamp right onto one of the squares that's provided. This one for the piece of, oh, wrong piece. For the piece here of the burlap ribbon, what I would do is go ahead and line this up, go to the back, use your scissors to trim. These are hands down the best for this. If you have them, you'll want to get them out, and if not, think about adding them to your Christmas list. Then I'm going to trim right up the middle. So now I have 2 halves. I'm going to take one part here and fray, just for the fun effect. And then I like to use either mini glue dots or sticky strip, either one is fine, to go ahead and stick my burlap down. And there we go. See, I just put 3 of them in a row on there. Stick my burlap. And that gives us a base here. All right, now on here you'll also find there's a rhinestone. The rhinestone strips are in your Project 3 kit, so if you haven't, or Project 2. Anyway, they're in the wood grain folder kit. So if you haven't gotten those started yet, then you'll want to grab one of those rhinestones, and I like to use the brush tip. I'm going to grab my darkest marker so my color ends up darkest. I'm going to color right on the rhinestone. See how that works? And then I'm going to transfer that there onto my burlap ribbon. There we go. Okay, see how easy that is? And then there's a strip here, and you're going to stamp the greeting on your strip, and then you're going to want to trim it pretty close to the letters so that those all fit on there. All right, for our bird, this guy, you were cut out. Look, through the magic of television, I have one. And then my favorite way to attach the twine, or the baker's thread, is to go ahead and put a dimensional on the back. And then I'm going to take my thread and just loop it around a couple of times. I don't think I'm even going to use all the baker's twine that was in the kit. So you'll have some little scraps left over. I'm going to take my bird here, peel the backing off of the dimensional, and then I'm just going to scrunch the thread right into our bird. Okay, see how that works? So now when I flip it over, he's got that cute little embellishment all ready to go. When I attach it to my project, I'll probably go ahead and put another Stampin' Dimensional on there just to make sure my bird doesn't have any issues sticking. But that will be a nice way to hold our linen thread. All right, for the background of this one, there is a gorgeous glimmer paper square. Oh, I know, I love this champagne color. It's beautiful. We use the heart for it already. And then there's this artisan label punch piece. I'm going to take a pair of scissors, or you can use your Stampin' trimmer. Save this for square number 7. And then this part is square number 6. So I need my wood grain stamp here from the Choose Happiness stamp set. Oh my gosh. Okay, so did you totally see how when I tried to ink that it didn't stick? If you live in a place with dry air, like me in the Midwest, then you sometimes need to help your blocks to hold the stamps by just adding a tiny bit of snail adhesive. I highly recommend it, especially in the winter. The stamps stick to the blocks by kind of a static cling, and so in the winter time when the air is so dry, it's just really hard to get them to stick, and I don't like them falling off, so adhesive will not harm them. Alright, then I'm going to use Greenla glue, aka multi-purpose liquid adhesive, because sticking to this glimmer paper is sometimes a trick. So there's our background. Where's our little bird? You know what, I got my glue handy. I'll just tap a little more on there just for kicks. But the dimensional is really what's holding my bird together. And so there is our next square. So we'll toss him aside. All right, this one here is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to take the strip of artisan label piece that you just made, stick it there right on the edge of your next map layer. Take the brad. I love these antique brads. They're super cute. And open it up and put that on the back. Okay, done. This one here is going to take just a little bit longer, so I'm going to start off with one of my strips. That's not a strip, it's a square. I'm going to start off with one of my square and grab the border strip here. Go ahead and ink this up, stamp this here towards the bottom. We need another rhinestone, so go ahead and color another rhinestone from that packet to put down here. Okay, and then we are going to stamp a flower. So on one of the scrap papers that's included with your kit, go ahead and stamp a flower. Now you can color first if you want to, but I'm not going to color the parts I don't need. And I want my flower to be just part. See how that works like that? So what I'm going to do is go ahead and line my, you can kind of see, well, I don't know if you can see through with the camera. I can kind of see through if I hold up to the light where my flower is going to sit. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and trim along the edges of my paper so that I have the flower sort of outlined by my square. Okay, does that make sense? And then I'm going to use my paper snips to go ahead and trim the flower edge like this. And right pretty close to the petals. Get that little bit out. Alright, so now when I color this and stick it on, it's going to go like this. So same with the flower we just did. Color light over the whole deal, the whole flower. So we have our background with the light marker. Okay, and I think it'll probably be a lot easier to see on this anyway. Okay. You're better off to color in the direction of the flowers so you don't get kind of stray lines going everywhere. Second marker, medium. I'm going to go here and color on my petals where Stampin' Up, the artists, have conveniently put those, hey, watercolor here lines. I really appreciate those. I don't know about you. Alright, so there's some darker color. Okay, and then I'm going to take my darkest marker. Again, I like to kind of finish it up, and I'm going to color here, just right at those hey color here lines. I kind of like that. I think we should call them hey color here lines. Okay. All right. Now, there is a fairly wide range between the darkest and the lightest, so at the end, I said I like to go back and blend with my lightest marker to blend the light into the dark just a little bit. Okay? See how relatively quick and easy that was? This is what happens to your cardstock with blendability. So if you're doing a card layer, you'll want to make sure you back it on something, but that's normal. They kind of saturate, and that's how you get that awesome saturated color effect. All right, so there is our next square, and our final square here, we are going to use another little scrap, of which you probably have lots, because I give you lots of burlap in your kit. And I'm going to go ahead and trim a piece that looks kind of like this. Again, I like the mini glue dots for sticking it down. And the easiest way, honestly, is to just go ahead and press your paper right onto the mini glue dot strip so that you have, you don't have to peel those off your finger then. All right, so we have our background, then we have our buttons and our piece of crochet thread. So I'm going to go crazy. We'll put some glue on here for the crochet thread. Trim some ends on that. Okay. That glue is sort of sticking through. And then I'm going to thread the thread through here and go ahead and tie a bow. Look, through the magic of television, it is done. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and find some mini glue dots and stick these here on the back of my button. When you're using green lead glue with ribbon, you want to be careful because it goes right through the ribbon and will so show on everything. But since we're covering it up with a button here, I think we'll be in good shape. Okay, so there's our final square, number 9. And then we have some, let's get rid of all this stuff here. Like, look at the mess. Okay, then we have some assembly to do. First of all, make sure your frame is going to go the right direction. And then my advice is to go ahead and lay out all of your squares. All right. Yes, I know this one's not quite finished, but you get the idea. Okay, I've lost one. Oh, that's because I never finished it. Okay, here we'll go ahead and stamp that one really fast because otherwise it'll be hard to stamp later. Look, and I can color it later. Okay, there we go. All right, so go ahead and put out all of your squares and kind of arrange them exactly where you want them. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the spacing between my squares, and I am looking at the spacing around the edge of my frame. So between those two, you want to make sure that your squares are exactly where you want them. Now this is a project that you can do, and I'll show you another sample, with 9 squares like this. These squares happen to be 1.5 inches big because the stamps from this particular set fit on them. Some people do inchies, which are 1-inch squares, and you just kind of make up a whole bunch of different ones and throw them together for a cool finished project. There's all kinds of where you do sort of variations on a theme. So now that I have these arranged, I'm going to take my stamped dimensionals and one at a time, I'm going to put a dimensional on the back and then go ahead and stick it down. So see how that works? And then when you are finished sticking everything together, you have a fun and fabulous frame project that would make a really great gift. You could do other variations on this theme. It's really a neat thing. And you're upcycling the materials from your glimmer paper and your designer series papers from Stampin' Up. So if you would like to make this project, I can provide you with all the materials as part of Stamps in the Mail Club. Just drop me a note or visit my website for a look at the details on that, and I would be happy to help you get started with the kit this month. So thanks so much for watching me. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and my blog for updates, and I look forward to stamping with you by mail. Thanks so much. Ooh, are you still there? I realized I forgot to show you the other project that I promised you. So this one is done as a card version, and it just uses the 4 little squares from the corner there to do something smaller. So actually this would look cute on a bookshelf or a table in the front hall or something too. Just kind of a different idea. Instead of making the 9 square, you can make a 4 square. Thanks so much.